The outer planets, or modern rulers in astrology, Uranus, Neptune, and yes, even Pluto, have been submerged by the veil of secrecy, as unlike the 7 traditional classic planets, which for millennia have been refined and exercised by the human psyche, and have guided humanity towards breaching the fallible limitations of the mental and physical plane, the outer planets worked silently. In many ways, the outer planets represent the dormant energies that lurked far away from our perception, but subtly influencing us until their discovery, as their presence was felt and imprinted into our stories and mythology, and as the human mind, yet aware of their place in our solar system, brought their stories into being. None so much as the subtle planet of Neptune, the playmaker of our energetic channels and abstract projection. Neptune sits at the zenith of the tree of life, as it is the manipulation of the cosmic currents of this most distant planet, where even sunlight cannot reach. Neptune is the planet that echoes out the blueprints of universal mind. It is the planet that sets up the values and the constants, and the playground filled with infinite potential within our solar system. The traditional description in astrology is that Neptune is the planet that is responsible for our imagination and seeds of abstract thought. And whilst this isn't untrue, it is only scratching the surface. Neptune is the Latin name for the Greek god Poseidon, whom in Hellenistic mythology took up his mantle as one of the higher gods in the pantheon, amongst his 2 brothers, Zeus and Hades. Neptune won dominion of the oceans, and rules over it with his kingdom said to be hidden within the deepest depths of the great oceans. Neptune was responsible for managing the currents that enriched the oceans and which teemed with life. Tropical astrology has Neptune sitting as the ruler of Pisces and the 12th house, and the esoteric ruler of the cardinal water sign of Cancer, where Neptune exalts. So because Neptune sits at the height of the hierarchy, even though the influences of this planet aren't so overtly felt by the mass consciousness, the presence of Neptune is felt through the crown chakra, as Neptune rules over the Keter in the Kabbalistic tree of life. This might be confusing given that Neptune finds its rulership in Pisces or Meena in Vedic astrology and rules over the 12th house, which is symbolized by the feet in the physiognomy of the human body. This is symbolic of the rulership of Neptune over the entire body, ranging from the energetic center of the Ashik fields just above the head right down to the feet, connecting us to the Earth center. In mythology, Neptune rules the oceans, as Earth is by and large mostly water. It is this water which stirs life through the currents, which gave life time to evolve and find a place on land. And despite the invention of the aeroplane, the majority of global trade is maritime. Water connects the world, as water connects us all. It is this connection with the 12th house being the sum to total through completion of a process, and the first house being the point in which the energy resurfaces in Aries, after mutably changing in Pisces, where we get the theme of the cosmic recycle process of energy or reincarnation, in which we return to Earth in death and are reborn through the crown chakra to restart the process. In this way, Neptune acts as the etheric crucible where a situation of severe trial or different elements react, leading to the creation of something new. This is why Neptune also exalts in the cardinal water sign of Cancer, as this is the point in which the soul takes full incarnation or form here on the earth, as Cancer deals with the 3rd ray of active intelligence and the 7th ray of ceremonial order, where the moon's receptivity is at its height. So because Neptune has dominion over the energetic fields of the body, however subtle, those touched strongly by Neptune are usually rather gifted, as the house Neptune rules over, the 12th house, which represents the full mastery of the physical, mental, and spiritual. Here in Vedic astrology do we see the lunar mansions or nakshatras, where the pinnacle of the spiritual lessons fall within powerful mansions, such as Purva Bhadrapada, representing the immense power of Kundalini energy, Uttara Bhadrapada, the mastery of the Kundalini, and Revati, the complete cycle of the lessons learned. The popular Netflix series The Queen's Gambit with Anya Taylor-Joy, who has a moon in either Uttara Bhadrapada or Revati, playing the main character Beth Harmon in the series, is a good example of Neptune's influence through 12th house themes. Beth Harmon is, in a way, a savant, as she is able to use the same playing field Neptune uses in the design of the blueprints for our solar system and energy centers. But because Neptune is preeminent to the other planets, and the themes of Pisces and the 12th house are in many ways the hardest, many natives struggle with the overbearing responsibility and power that comes with these influences, becoming lost in the design of our cosmos or finding avenues of escape through an assortment of addictions, as these help the native deal with the themes of Neptune and the 12th house. This is the suspension of self, as the 12th house represents the collective consciousness and beyond. The individual cannot exist as a singular unit, as this was learnt in the Bhadrapada Nakshatras, and in a world where individuality is honored and raised above, the environment Neptune-dominant individuals find themselves in can be very challenging, and while they are usually found in positions where they can separate themselves from the physical world, such as art, mediumship, acting, or shamanism. Helena Blavatsky, who was the mother of Theosophy, claimed that Neptune wasn't necessarily a part of our local solar system, and that its connection to our solar system was illusory. This feeds into the traits of many Neptune-dominant natives who, in a way, reflect what the masses project upon them without ever truly understanding them. As the energy of this planet is so serene due to the center crucible of energy present, it doesn't take up or in external light but simply reflects it. This points to the mutable nature of Pisces, as the sign deals with the involution or evolution of the soul, symbolized by the two fish looking in either direction. This point is where external influences do not interfere, as the soul judges itself, in which it decides whether or not the soul leaves the cycle of reincarnation or inserts itself through the crown chakra into a new beginning.
It started out as a feeling, which then grew into...
The last nakshatra of Pisces is Revati. Revati finds its ruler in Mercury, as this point symbolizes the absolute mastery of one state of being, but also Mercury at its height, where instead of being inquisitive searching Mercury of the 3rd house in Gemini, and the Mercury in service of a cause in the 6th house of Virgo, the 12th house Mercury is finally able to act as the evaluator of the complete story of the native's life. This is where, in the Vedas, the solar god Pushan rules over this lunar mansion, as Pushan is the god of meeting and protects during this critical stage. However, in tropical astrology, the final decan of Pisces is ruled over by Mars, as Mars rules over Aries but also signifies the final breath of Fahatic energy, which is life's vitality, before either being surrendered for spiritual emancipation or returned back into the cycle of life to start again. This also points to Mars being about the lesson of victory through defeat, and defeat through assuming one is victorious and thrown back into the karmic cycle of reincarnation. However, whichever direction is decided upon, Neptune rules over the esoteric phases of transmutation or release. In this sense, as stated earlier, those touched by Neptune exhibit these traits subtly into our world, as they live between the point of the earth center and crown chakra, set aloft from the masses of society, as their role is to remind the sleeping alchemist in us all of the necessity of the metaphysical crucifixion and the nirvana that awaits us, should we, not anyone else, deem ourselves truly worthy of it.
Now we're back to the beginning. It's just a feeling and no one knows yet. But just because they can't feel it too doesn't mean that you have to forget.